dugsiga boardingka iyo maalinlaha ah ee Amano Boarding and Day School.
Hi everyone viewing this, and especially the Form 1s. Welcome to our geography lesson. My name is Teacher Eric. Now, today we shall be looking at underground water. So as we were looking at our lesson last time, we looked at underground water, and actually underground water was part of the hydrological cycle that we looked at last time. And remember, we said that a process in which now the atmosphere, water actually gets to the atmosphere and back the Earth's surface, actually in a continuous process. That was the hydrological cycle. Now, we also looked at various processes that included evaporation, evapotranspiration, percolation, infiltration, how water actually gets into the soil and goes to the ground. Now, today in our lesson, as we look at underground water, we shall be looking at what underground water is. We shall also be looking at sources of underground water, and therefore here, if I may just try to do something here, we shall look at actually what underground water is, and therefore the keywords here. One, we have underground. That's one. Two, we have some other words like actually surface, because underground is actually the opposite of surface. Then we shall have another keyword here like permeable. That's also a keyword. We shall also look at another keyword which is impermeable. Impermeable, and impermeable is the opposite of permeable. Now, underground water actually is water that's found under the ground, below the Earth's surface. We shall now look at the surface now, where we are. Actually, water that's actually found on the surface water. That one was even taught in previous classes. We shall also be looking at permeable, and especially when we talk about permeable rocks and impermeable rocks. The word permeable means rocks that actually allow water or any fluid, any liquid to pass through, while impermeable are rocks that do not allow any water, any fluid to pass through. Having said that, we shall straight go to something else here. And actually the meaning of underground water, which you should, by the end of this lesson, conceptualize. You should be able to define what underground water is. And underground water is actually water that exists beneath. Beneath means under or inside. So beneath the Earth's surface, in pore spaces, found in the soil, and also rocks. Now, when you have rocks and soil, there are some small holes in those rocks and soil. We call them pores. So pores are actually those small holes found in the rocks and even soil. Now, water which passes through those small holes and goes under the soil is what you call underground water. So students, the meaning of underground water is just water that is found beneath, right? Beneath the Earth's surface. Earth's surface is where we can observe, we can see, we can even step on, and that's actually the surface of the Earth. And therefore water that's found beneath or under the Earth's surface is what we call underground water. Now, underground water is actually just the opposite of surface water. And surface water is water that we can see actually in rivers, ponds, lakes, oceans, and seas. Good. So as we move to the next, then we shall look at something else, and that is actually sources of underground water. where do we get underground water? Where does underground water come from? A very good question. Now, sources of underground water, as you can see here, one is rainwater. We actually get water from rain. Rain is the ultimate source of water, and therefore rainwater, whenever there is rain, rain falls to the ground, and what happens to the water on the ground? The water actually gets underground. The water gets underground. How does the water get underground? It gets underground through those small holes that we call pores. Those small holes enable the water to get underground. Now, this water may get underground and then it meets an impermeable rock. Impermeable rock is a rock which does not allow water to pass through. So, for instance, water was actually moving and going down through those holes found in the soil. Then it happens that now it meets those small holes found within the rock. And then as the water goes down, it actually comes across, or it meets an impermeable rock. Impermeable rock is a rock that does not allow water to pass through. Now, this means when this water meets an impermeable rock, for example, it will not continue flowing. It will stay there. And that will actually have formed underground water. Good. As we proceed now to another source of underground water is melted water. Melted water. Water that melts. And this actually water that forms when snow or ice melts. Sometimes the glaciers, sometimes on top of very high mountains, whenever snow melts, then actually the snow will form what you call melted water. Where does this melted water go to? Melted water will start now flowing, and especially in summer season, the water will flow to the rivers. The water will flow actually into the rocks, into the pores and the holes in the rocks. Then as it flows, it infiltrates. A key word here that actually we're also looking at is the word infiltrate. So learners, the word infiltrate here means to get in, vertically getting in. Whenever water flows, this water actually is flowing, and assuming that here is your rock, the land is here, the land surface. Now as water gets in, the rain drops, then part of the water may flow on the surface. This is actually what we call surface runoff. And part of the rainwater may simply get its way inside through some holes. This is what you call infiltration. So here is infiltration. Now, the water is infiltrating. The word is infiltrating. Infiltrating. Now, the melted water infiltrates into the ground. This leads to the formation of underground water. Okay? Next, we are looking at the next source of underground water. Remember, we've already looked at the rainwater, we've looked at the melted water, and we're now looking at another source of underground water, actually, which is surface water. Surface water is also a source of underground water. Surface water actually is water that is from the smallest actually source of water, which is maybe a swamp, rivers, we have lakes, seas, and also oceans, right? We know some of the oceans in the world, like Pacific Ocean, Atlantic Ocean, another one. Okay, yes, we have also the Southern Sea, and even very many other. Actually, we also have the Red Sea, we have the Indian Ocean. All those large water bodies are sources of surface water, and therefore surface water, this water in the rivers, for example, if I may use an illustration here, you find that this surface water, for example, if this is maybe there's a depression that I've drawn here, that is actually showing either an ocean having water. Now, what happens is that this water may percolate. To percolate means that if this is actually the land, this is the land, this one here is land, this water may percolate. To percolate is to move horizontally, diagonally through these holes. Water moves horizontally, so it percolates. This word here is percolate. So the water may percolate, moving horizontally. So that means also, as it moves horizontally, it's actually going to form what you call underground water. So from surface to underground. Talk about even a shallow pond, where we have a pond like this, and then deep under we have land. This is rocks and soil. This is land, and this is shallow water, maybe a river. This water may percolate through the pores. Pores are actually those small holes within the rock. So the water may percolate and gets its way to underground. That forms underground water. Now, we have also looked at actually 3 sources of underground water. One, we have looked at rainwater. We have also looked at melted water. And now we have looked at something else, which is the surface water. Good. So as we continue, here, there are factors that influence the existence of groundwater. What are some of the factors that influence the existence of groundwater? For there to be groundwater, what factors, what things must we have? What must happen in order to have groundwater? So factors are things that must be present. Class, you understand that? Things that must be present in order to have ground or underground water. Now, the following factors actually will affect the existence of underground water. One is precipitation, and in our previous lesson we learned about precipitation. What is precipitation? Precipitation is actually water that falls from the atmosphere towards the Earth's surface. I remember we also looked at various forms of precipitation, including even sleet, snow, including dew. All those are forms of precipitation. So precipitation must be there. That means water must fall so that it can actually go underground. Then the next factor actually here, that's number 2, is slope. Slope. That means that the land must not be flat, really, but it must be gentle sloping for there to be underground water. Sometimes water must percolate, it also must infiltrate. So slope is very important factor. Then factor number 3, which is also very important, is nature of rocks. If rocks are permeable, then underground water will not be there. So there must be permeable and impermeable rocks. There must be permeable rocks and impermeable. So which one comes on top of the other? Some of you actually do not know what we talk about. I mean, what we mean when we talk about permeable and impermeable. Porous. Look at a rock like this one here. Actually, this rock here is showing some small holes in it. These small holes will allow water to infiltrate. In fact, this process is infiltration. So this one here is actually, this is permeable rock, a permeable rock. It allows water to pass through. Then also there is also another image showing permeable rocks, rocks that have got small holes in them. These small holes allow water to pass through. Now, these small holes, the pores, we call them pores. Pores. They allow water to pass through. So for underground water to be there, we must have permeable rock lying on top of an impermeable rock, and that will enable underground water to exist. Now, coming to that, then here is also another permeable rock. It has some holes in it. they actually influence the existence of underground water. Then vegetation cover also, that whenever there are plants, where plants grow, actually the speed of water will reduce. Plants will stop the speed of water, and that means underground water will not form as fast as it should have been formed. Now, just to finish up our lesson with some questions here, we have looked at underground water, and we've seen that underground water is actually water that is found beneath or under the earth's surface. And as you'll be looking at these questions here, you will also have to study how underground water is formed, and actually things that enable underground water to be formed. You will also try to look at these questions and attempt them. Then we shall look at the correction in our next lesson. Have a nice time. Thank you for watching.